Hello, welcome guys. This is my updated hero guide. If you haven't seen my videos before, I have a couple of my social medias on the right there. My name is Devil Heroes, and I'm going to teach you guys today how to use items properly. So the first item we're gonna go over today will be the Critical Greatsword. Basically, it adds attack damage, 75 attack damage, which is actually a considerable amount of attack damage. So this will make you do more damage. The ultimate has a 15% chance to deal 400 damage. So by this time, you've already collected 225 extra attack damage. You probably have a 2-star, so the attack damage on your unit's been increased. You're basically looking for any unit that can increase its own attack speed or has chain attacks. So we have Devour because he increases his attack speed by 50%, so that's really strong. So any attack damage you add to him is basically like even more effective. Stalker Drone is going to be the go-to unit you use if you're building hunters. You can even argue that even in Rider Hunters, that Stalker Drone will actually be better than the Unicorn Cavalier. But like I said, in Riders, then you're gonna be using Unicorn Cavalier. It's like the reason why Stalker Drone and Cavalier use this are like my biggest suggestion here is because I mean those are the most popular comps right now, Hunter or I guess Punisher is a little more popular than Hunter, but Hunter and Unicorn Cavalier, their attacks are chaining to other units, so any additional attack damage is like even stronger than other units. The other like amazing unit that you can get is if you can get a Stinger with 4 critical swords. It's like the highest damage unit in the game, but Stinger's a little weak unless you have the elf buff and the assassin buff, which isn't happening too often. You can also put your critical swords on the sword dancer, but to be honest, you want to put mana items and defensive items on the sword dancer because of how amazing her sustain is. The next item we have is the piercing dagger. You're increasing your attack speed. Increase your attack speed by 15. I believe it's 15%. I'll look into that more. I'll leave it in the comments. But then the key is once you get the 4 stack, you reduce the target's armor by 5, stacking up to 8 times. So you reduce the target's armor by 40, right? The average 1-star unit has 20 armor, and the average like legendary and mythic unit has about 30 armor. So you're reducing them below 0 armor once you stack it up. So they actually start taking increased damage once they go below armor. So there's plenty of units you can put this on, like any high damage unit, but you really want to put it on the Unicorn Cavalier and the Stalker Drone, because since their attacks are chaining to other units, you will be stacking that armor debuff on multiple units. So in effect, your every unit should basically be attacking a unit with reduced armor. You can also use it on like various mages or just units you want to get ultimates on, just because it's increasing your attack speed, so you're gonna get like bonus. You'll get your ultimate faster than usual. But really, you want to put it on the Stalker Drone and the Unicorn Cavalier. And the thing is, the Stalker Drone can pretty much be used in any team comp because it has unlimited range, so you can just put it in the corner. We're gonna go over I'm gonna have a video on just powerful units, hopefully in the next week. That'll specifically dive into strong units. We have the resistance cloak here. It's a little formatting issue. So it increases your magic resistance. by 10. The fourth, if you get 4 of these on one unit, it has a 30% chance to nullify enemy's incoming ability. So this is just really strong, right? If you can get it on, like on your demons, you want to look for either Devourer or Executioner, just because they're tanky. Same with General of War. He's like in your Sorcerer human comp, you're like definitely putting it on the General of War. But your in like he's also a good unit to give it to in general. On cyborgs, you're gonna give it to Ground Smasher because that's your main tank until you get your legendary. Until you get your legendaries. In Rider, you're gonna put it on your Templar Knight because you want the Templar to stay alive as long as possible because he is the most powerful reusable alt. If you don't have the dragon buff, the reason why this is mentioned is because if you play riders with dragons, your dragoon is never in the front line because it instantly transforms. So giving it defensive stats just doesn't make sense because it turns into a ranged unit once you get the dragon buff. So you'll be putting it on mostly the Templar, but if you're not going dragons, you should put it on your dragoon too, so the dragoon survives and gets into his form. For druids and elves, Evergreen is a decent unit. You know, it's like your main tank when you're running elf or druid. But if you get a 4-star resistance, a 4-item resistance cloak on Sword Dancer, she is insanely powerful. So not only is her ultimate has a chance to block things, while she's out of her ultimate, she has a 30% chance to also nullify ultimates. So just a very strong unit in general. You'll see that she can take like just about every item in the game. Templar Knight's the only maybe one. You know, you're not going to put too many like attack damage on Templar, but we'll get to that later. Forbidden Tome increases mana recovered by 50% when taking damage. You know, this is but the key though is the gains a shield with 20% of max life upon using an ability. That's wild. This is basically as close as you can get to lifesteal in this game without, you know, using the Warlock buff. So if your build is a little too large, you know, you're running riders with hunters, you know, you don't necessarily get to put in a Warlock buff. So the Forbidden Tome kind of acts as a Warlock buff because you're giving yourself, you know, 20% of your max life every time you use your ultimate. So basically, Sword Dancer is like the best unit in the game to give this to because she should almost always have her ultimate up then, so she becomes essentially invulnerable. Other strong units are, you know, Templar is who you're gonna give it to in Rider comp. You can possibly give it to Scourge or Calamity, but Templar is your main one because his ultimate is so strong. General of War also, you know, getting his ult off is very strong. He's also a melee unit. I mentioned here you want to put this item on melee units who have strong ultimates. If you don't have these 3 units in your final build, yeah. So like Evergreen isn't bad either, but basically you're looking for these 3 units for Forbidden Tome. Anyone who's taking damage and then will also deal a lot of damage, or have an impactful ult, I should say. Because it's giving you mana, right? But only mana. Sorry, let me just take a step back. It's only giving you mana when you take damage, so that's why you don't put it on some of these casters, because usually they shouldn't be taking damage, right? Here we have Spellbane Staff. This is also just a great unit. So the 4-star bonus is strong. Don't get me wrong, but you'll oftentimes see people actually spreading this Spellbane Staff out and putting it on multiple units. I have over basically when you get to the 4-stack, it'll reduce the magic resist by 60, which is a lot. I think that I'm pretty sure the average unit has about 30 magic resist. I could be wrong though. So if you're running sorcerers, you have to put them on Lightbringer because she's a human mage and you should be running human sorcerer anyways. So she's gonna get like her ults off, maybe reset them, and you'll just get a chain of ults going. But to be honest, you can put them on any of the sorcerers. It's just, this is your priority. You can also put it on units like General of War and the Ultimate Weapon Joey, because when you use your ability in a large area like these two, it'll make all your other units deal additional damage too right after. So General of War and the Ultimate Weapon usually get their ults off pretty early because they're melee units, so they're not only are they're just they're building up mana much quicker, so they're getting their ult off. And then they're able to actually use this the ultimate here, which reduces the magic resist. Otherwise, you're gonna just look for, you know, units that just want to either spam their ultimates because they'll get them off multiple times in a fight. Misfortune, Scourge. Scourge is on the low end, you know, like you'll put maybe one on here for him, you know, especially early game if you get one and you're running riders. It might be even, you know, getting it early on the Scourge might even, just one, not many on the Scourge, but just one on it might be better than the Templar Knight. But basically these three units are going to be spamming their ults, so if they're able to do more damage and just get more ults off, that'll make them get more ults off, you know, you'll win more. And then you also have Void, Doom, and Templar here because they essentially have the best ults in the whole game. Void Doom, you know, can basically kill an entire sorcerer comp because they're all stacked up in the middle. Templar Knight, just this ult is crazy. It does true damage. You know, with the rider meta, he destroys riders, so getting his ult off against other riders is super strong. Basically, you're putting these items on units that deal damage and have strong ults. Now we have defensive armor here. This is a little different than all the other items. You don't really need to put them all on the same unit because the ultimate isn't very strong. Deals 100 magic damage per second to all surrounding enemies within one grid. So technically, you know, this is you know, 3,000 damage over 30 seconds. So if you have a really beefy dude, you know, we're thinking Evergreen or General of War, you know, maybe even your Templar Knight, you know, they will get working because they'll stay alive long, but it's not doing a whole lot. I do suggest you stack them if you're running only a single tank. So if you're running like an assassin comp or a sorcerer comp, then maybe you'll start to stack this item just so that one guy gets really tanky because he's going to be taking the brunt of your damage. But in all honesty, you're just going to spread it out to make all your tanks a little beefier instead of just one of them. There's no wrong way to use this item is basically what I'm saying. I mean, like, it's wrong if you put it on your casters, but any tank, you spread it out on your tanks, it's fine. The ultimate just isn't super strong in this, so you don't have to worry about who gets these too much. You know, also, I mean, putting it on the Sword Dancer too is like always great too, because her taking less damage is always great. I think that's about it. We basically talked about, you know, the mana items are all about units that are using ultimates. The defensive items are about, you know, your front line. It makes a lot of sense. Your damage items are pretty much going on the Stalker Drone or the Cavalier. You know, once again, the Devour and Stinger aren't too bad of an options. But in general, you're going to be stacking these on the units that need them the most. Spreading out the items is just not the smartest choice. So, you know, come back here, you know, like, subscribe. It's great having all you guys comment on the videos. I really appreciate it. You know, any questions you have, just feel free to ask. Thank you very much. Take care.